That would be crazy.
Who knows? We'll see. You guys want to get into the review?
Let's do the review.
Okay. So the game that we are reviewing today.
Well, games technically plural.
Games. Pokemon.
Make it better or worse?
Scarlet and Violet.
We're gonna be reviewing the new Pokemon
We're
games.
Gonna triple team this bad boy. So
I want to make jokes.
Yep, I know. So to get the details out of the way, this is Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, developed by the Pokemon Company and Game Freak, produced by Nintendo. It was released on November 18th of 2022. We all played it on the Switch. It's only available on the Switch.
Yep.
So those are the minor details there. Let's start with what you guys like about the game. I think that's an easy one for me. It's a Pokemon game.
It was a
Pokemon game. It is fun. It is fun. The story was fun. Yeah. Enjoyable. I said this a couple weeks ago. I really like the fact that you are not a total dick to your rival or rivals, plural in this case.
It was really not heavy. Like it was really
it's very light. I feel like it's totally.
Well, they had that whole like anti-bullying plot in it, which
they did have the anti-bullying plot.
Spoiler alert! Heavy spoilers to come by.
Oh yes. Sorry, yeah. We're beyond the statute of limitations,
just so we can talk freely. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a little heavy-handed, and the school theme is interesting, but like it's very clear that they're trying to recapture the youth audience as well as give something for those of us who have been entrenched in the franchise forever. But
really remind me that I'm old.
I'm older than you, and Paul's older than me, so deal with it.
The game kind of does that, you know what I mean?
Oh yes, absolutely. Mechanically it's fine. It doesn't break the mold at all. But yeah, it's at the end of the day, it's a fun game.
Yeah. I don't think anyone can disagree with that. What did you not like about the game? Let's start with Josh.
Okay,
Josh, what did you not like about the game?
I'm just going to get this one out of the way because we all think it. And so basically the graphical integrity and just like the way a lot of the sprites and overworld functioned in certain ways and the textures overall were not polished, and they attempted to patch it and it didn't fully patch it in so many ways.
I think it made it worse.
There are times when I went behind the scenes and was inside of a barrier or a wall. There were times where I exploded and turned into different things. You know what I mean? Like mutate your character, or your character sinks into the floor, or, you're blipping through shit, or, any number of things kind of happen. And texture wise, the textures are like melting sometimes. Like the walls would like wave at me when I'm coming towards them. It's like really fucking weird shit. Graphically, get that out of the way aside. There are other things I didn't like about this game. The co-op was like promised to us, and I feel like it wasn't very fleshed out. So this is something that really bugged me.
Well, it doesn't work.
It kind of does. So me and my buddy Matt were able to go into a game together, and you basically can run around, but you're playing like individually in fights, and you can't join together, even though they showed that there are double battles in this game.
And there are, just with NPCs.
One of the gym leader even like makes you have a double battle. Oh. So
yeah.
I know, that was great. So I feel like to not have that option to fight side by side with your friend was like a massive whiff on their part, even though it's not like, it's just like not a feature that's in the game. So it's not necessarily a huge strike. It is definitely something that I was expecting because of how they advertised the co-op. And I should have seen it coming that it was mostly for the raid battles. I did not like the scaling. I felt like the ranking was really not as advertised. I would have loved it if you just press a button, all opponents' Pokemon and wild Pokemon scale to, let's say, the lowest level LCD. On your team. Yeah, like that seems so easy to program into a Nintendo game. And
or the high, like kind of like
an
average,
yeah.
do an average.
Like about a 60 and a 65, I'm fighting.
Yeah, so you're gonna fight like some Pokemon that are a little higher than you and some that are a little lower, but right around, and same thing with the gyms, like
those should have been scaled.
The big problem is
caps. Gyms needed to be scaled.
The big problem with this whole open world thing is you and there's some restrictions with what they do with like the movement of your ride Pokemon and stuff, but that's easily overcome. But then you find yourself either in an area where you're way underpowered, which I think is fine as long as they gate it properly. Which again kind of goes back to why Pokemon games shouldn't be open world. And
Yeah.
and then secondly, you'll run into areas where you're way overpowered. Like there was some areas that I went to near the end of the game that I hadn't gone to yet, and I just like destroyed everything. It wasn't fun at all.
Right.
Yeah. And that just makes it like a breeze through when you're
Yeah.
saving something. Like I saved these 2 gyms because I had no idea, and they were like level 12.
Yeah.
Like when
Yeah.
I went to them, I was like, really? I like saved these for last so I could enjoy them like thoroughly, but nope.
Yep.
I'd already
the other-
beaten the strongest gym leader. Who knew?
Yeah.
The
other
too
thing-
low of a level.
Like if you're looking to catch a specific Pokemon, now you've got to completely restructure your team based on one random drop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's foolishness. I can't.
Really weird.
I'm running a level 82 Dragonite and just
So
riding
there's
his back.
there's
through
some
the whole thing.
Pokemon that you can get in the end game that have a move that always does half of their damage. And so you could be level 100 and use this move and not KO a level 4 Pokemon if you want to, you know what I mean? So I've been using that on like areas where I'm over leveled and there's something that I want to catch. I'll use that to get their health like all the way down without killing them. And then
there's another move that leaves them with no less than 1 health. I can't remember what it is. It's like not Endure, but there is a move like that where it like guarantees they stay at 1 health.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely for wild Pokemon. It's less of an issue for me if I'm being honest. Like I don't mind if there's level caps for like the wild Pokemon.
Sure.
I would like, because that's the thing. What if I'm farming a guy? Like I don't necessarily want it to be a challenging fight over and over and over again. You know, I maybe want to just like, oh shit, wrong hidden move or whatever, and I want to catch the right one. That's annoying if they're like beating the shit out of you. But there could be level caps on each area. Like this area, the wild Pokemon could be no higher than level 20. You know, that's just the thing they could have added into the game. The trainers are kind of unexcusable for an open world game, considering they've already done Breath of the Wild and other games where they saw Breath was like the same issue with me though, but it was at least more like on par. Like enemies deal the same amount of damage. You just have more HP. So this was a little more egregious. So I mean, we can stop harping on that, but aside from that, there wasn't like too much really for me. I think the art style could use a redo at this point in the game.
Dude,
we'll talk about that in the main topic, Josh.
We'll talk about that in a bit because I've got
we have the
something
same
significant
idea
to say about that. Zach, what about you? What did you not like about that game?
I mean, the graphics were literal ass. Yeah. Like, I mean, so bad. There was one bit I turned on my Switch last night, and not only were the graphics looking like something that maybe would have run on a Super Nintendo, the buttons stopped. Like they were so bad, and the Switch was struggling to get them loaded that the buttons stopped responding. Like no button did a thing. Yeah, and I was like, "This is dumb."
The game fails occasionally too, and just crashes.
It does. That was the other thing I was just gonna say. I've crashed this game 4 times, and I'm like, this never happened with Dread. This never happened with any of the Marios, any of the Zeldas, any of the other games I've played. There's no excuse for that. Really this game it's unstable. Yeah. It's wildly unstable.
Yep.
And that's the instability is really what gets it for me.
For me, there's a couple things. I totally agree with the things you guys just mentioned, especially like if you've done any like raid battles online.
Oh,
they're
even offline, dude. They're so bad.
Yeah, they're 10 times worse online. Like everything's like so behind, and like sometimes you just can't do anything, and like the timer's just ticking down. And
it's Scott Pilgrim all over
really again. Bad. Yeah. I will say the ranked battles are really tight. Sometimes you're just waiting, depending on like where the other person's region is. So like the most I've ever waited in a turn was like 30 seconds, and it's usually much faster than that.
That's still a lot. Though.
That's still way better. I mean, the online raid battles are rough. But the things that I didn't like, in addition to that, number one, the starters I think are by far the lamest starters in any Pokemon game ever.
Skeledirge is okay.
So lame. That's the one I started. That's the one I started with was the little crocodile dude, and like, it's just so he's such a boring Pokemon. Like
They're really boring.
he does have
Turns
some
into a
cool
ghost
moves.
fire.
Yeah, but he's ugly and
So?
stupid looking. Like,
He's ugly.
yeah, I don't.
His signature move is good.
The signature move's good. Yeah, like the
There's
song
more signature
thing.
moves now.
Yeah.
Also,
True.
So like that's cool. Like it's like I do like that, especially in a raid. You can like you use that fire song or whatever the hell it is over and over again, and then you use a more powerful fire move, and it just freaking smashes
Yeah.
you. So that's pretty cool.
I would agree that
But-
this is probably the weakest. Like out of like averaging the scores of all 3 starters, this is the weakest. Quackley is just like
So
shit.
lame.
I can't believe they
Oh,
made
that's-
that.
The final
went
evolution
with that.
is so dorky. Oh my
And
god.
it's actually
I-
apparently like semi-competitive, but like not
Yeah.
good enough.
Yeah.
It's a waste of
Yeah,
time.
that's I dumped him in my box. Oh, I prioritized a Tauros over him. I was like,
Dude, the
this
cat-
is embarrassing.
The cat looks terrible, but also
The
like,
cat I think is the best looking of the 3, but
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
still not my favorite.
See, I
like it's
raised
still
mine
not
as a
something I'd
special
choose.
attacker, and I was like, cool, it can do both. It doesn't learn like any special attack moves
No.
after a certain level, and I was like, I just like wasted my starter, and that felt
Well, it does-
really bad.
Well, that's one
new-
thing that I do like about the game though is that you can go back and relearn moves. You can't
There's not much though for her.
You
can't
can
redo
also
stats.
you can redo stats. It's just a pain in the ass. It's expensive.
You can
but-
do.
Yeah,
you
there's
can
a person you can
unblip
talk to.
your-
every
No,
step.
no,
to
no,
get
no.
your EVs.
Yeah,
EVs?
yeah. There's items that you can use to knock out all your EVs, and then you just use stat boosting items to rebuild them.
Oh, I think I do know what you're talking about.
yeah,
actually. Oh,
yeah. They're like
shit.
some kind of herbs or whatever. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Not the Mystica
Interesting.
ones. There's
No, I know
other
what
shit.
you're talking about now. Yeah.
There's 6 different ones for each stat that you can use to reduce, like, knock them down to your base stats down to 0.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, and so I did that with a couple of Pokemon. That's cool. Whatever. The other thing that I really didn't like is the kind of forced open worldy bullshit that they put into it. Like the sandwich making is stupid. Just give me an item to do it that I can buy. I don't want to have to fucking build a sandwich
Picnic
anytime.
wasn't interactive enough to that. Like the picnic could have worked if there were like activities and
More
things you
shit
could
to
with your
do.
Pokemon.
Yeah. I do like how it does the breeding in the picnic thing. Like
Way
that's
easier,
kind of
but-
that's kind of cool.
Also, the
but-
move swap with the mirror herb, you literally just as soon as they come out of the Pokeball, the move tutor works.
Sure.
Like if you're trying to use an egg move. So I think there's a lot of quality of life enhancements that we're not.
Yeah,
mentioning
so that
also.
kind of stuff is cool, but like I said, the stupid
Excellent.
like fucking sandwiches are
Sandwich.
dumb. Having to get different materials to create EVs is dumb. Like it's annoying, and it's just stupid stuff that open world games do to extend your playtime. And that stuff drives me
Yeah.
nuts. And it's never been in Pokemon before. And we've put hundreds of hours into other Pokemon games. Why do this now? You know?
I do feel though that aside from the sandwiches, I do feel just to defend it slightly that this is the easiest game to raise EVs fully in. Like I feel like Pokemon X and Y had like you had to do some battle thing a bunch of times. The last game sorta had this, but I feel like as annoying as it is, like where I'm at, we're towards the end of the game, we're in the post game. It's super easy to just get like 200,000 like money and then just like buy them and just like juice them in.
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
can be pretty easy, but also I agree there could be an easier way. Why do we have to even like work towards it?
Yeah. It's
Why
stupid.
not just be like choose your EVs? Thank you.
I don't know. Anyway, what did? Oh, we already did that. How did you like the story? I thought the
Story
story
was
was
fun.
decent.
Yeah.
There's
Quaint.
kind of like 2 parallel
Yeah.
storylines going on that kind of converge at the end.
3 technically.
I actually, oh yeah, 3.
Well, there's the
Yeah, you're right.
expected one, and then yeah.
Yeah,
There's the
real
expected
and
one,
there's-
and then there's the Titan one, and then there's the Team
Team Rocket
Star
one.
or
It
whatever.
turns out you do have to beat all of them. I was
And you
unsure
do
about
have
that.
to beat all of them to actually fully beat the game and get into the end game. And
Which was
those
a
are
little
fine.
misleading to me because like they come at you with like, oh, choose your own adventure through this, and
I
I was like,
also
oh,
agree.
am I just picking one path and going with it? Because if
Well,
that's the
thought
case,
that
I'm just
too.
battling
I
the
ran
Elite Four.
into the exact same thing at the end. I finished the Elite Four and I was like, sweet, roll credits, and it didn't roll credits. I'm like, okay, something's missing. You know? But
Yeah.
and so I had to go do all the Team Star stuff, which I ignored throughout the entire game.
And it was a pain. Like the mechanics behind the Team Star thing were foolish.
It was
just
kind of
showing off.
novel at first, but like after doing one or two of them, you're like, okay, this is stupid. Can I just go fight the boss?
It kind of taught you how to use your wild Pokemon combat, like where you just throw your Pokemon.
Yeah,
that's kind of what it was.
That's definitely what it was doing, but they could have done that over one instance of it.
You
like
also figure it out on accident at the beginning of the game when you tap the fucking R button.
Also didn't scale, and those were disappointingly weak towards the end too.
So it was one of those instances where a developer says, "Oh, we've done this thing. You can release your Pokemon and have it battle on its own," and then they start congratulating over it. Like, look at this beautiful thing that we did, and you're like, no, it's not. It's cool
pretty lame.
I think it's cool.
Honestly, the most useful thing that they do is pick up items off the ground.
Yeah, you can't increase your EVs when you're fighting like that also, which I found out the hard way.
Which is actually good if you want to create a perfect stat Pokemon. Like,
it's annoying if you're trying to raise your EVs.
Yeah, but I mean, like, so if you have them, if you raise a Pokemon with your EVs at 0, you can then go use like your calcium and your whatever to get the exact EVs that you want. So which is what I did with some of my Pokemon towards the end when I was trying to build raid Pokemon. Is I just wiped out their stats and then rebuilt them with those items. Then I went and got my IVs all the way maxed out, and boom, I've got dope Pokemon. Pokemons. Anyway,
it is kind of easier to do this time around. That's what I'm saying. You just buy a bunch of bottle caps and you max out their IVs.
Yeah. So that's cool. There are like you said, there's a lot of cool quality of life stuff in the game, but it's kind of like stuff no one asked for, and we wouldn't have missed it if we didn't know it existed.
Yeah, like exactly. Auto heal.
Like if they had, if they had focused on actually making the necessary improvements, the things that absolutely have to be there, instead of putting all these little, I mean, they're probably just bugs dressed in tuxedos, really. In terms of level of feature, like we'd have a much better game on our hands.
I agree. So back on the whole story thing, the story's okay. It's definitely not the worst Pokemon story. It's definitely not the best Pokemon story. The Team Star one was lame, I thought. I actually really liked the Titan storyline. I thought that was the best.
I thought that was the best one.
Now, part of that is there was a dog involved.
Yeah,
there was a good boy involved.
He also
he was a good boy.
He's almost the main character of the game in a sense. Like, big spoiler here, but and I won't go into too much detail, but he's directly linked to the end game.
Yeah,
yes.
Like directly. But not only that, he's basically but he gives up.
And the biggest reveal in the game involves him.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
If he kept Miraidon or the other one's name from
I don't remember.
By the way, the storylines are then he would have been Ash basically. But I didn't even realize this. The games are more different than I thought. In Violet, end game is the future, like goes into the future.
In Scarlet, it's the past.
Into the past. I didn't realize that until
which made me think, Josh, that I think there's a direct connection to Arceus.
No,
could be. Or it could be a hint that the next Legends game is in the future.
Yeah.
Maybe, but the past that you get these Pokemon from in this game is way before Arceus. It's like
right, but that's not precluding the fact that it could be Arceus, Paul.
Arceus is prehistoric.
At some point, like there was some build toward that, like integrating those past worlds.
Maybe,
like not necessarily. Yeah, I mean, I'm being hyperbolic, but like. It's not. See, thank you, Josh. It's not outside the realm of possibility, is what I'm saying.
Sure, that's fine. Maybe. But another thing that I noticed about that though, involving the story, that was a big glitch, I thought, or maybe not a glitch, but an oversight, was when Homeboy is talking about the Forbidden Region. Or whatever the fuck.
Danger zone.
When he's talking about the danger zone.
Area 0,
Danger zone! Yeah, we're calling it the danger zone from now on. He's talking about the danger zone. He only refers to the Pokemon that he's talking about. He's referring to the future Pokemon. He does not refer to the past Pokemon. And so that was a little bit jarring playing Scarlet because, like, when I got in there, he's talking about how there's all these like scary machines and shit. and he's talking about the Pokemon that come through from Violet.
Yeah.
Those aren't in Scarlet at all.
Interesting.
So yeah, and he
So
makes,
they just copy pasted the dialogue.
Yeah. Now, when you get when you
wow.
actually get in there, and so and so's talking to you, like they're talking about, oh, this links to the past and all that kind of shit. But,
Good game.
Yeah, great game. But before then, like all the dialogue about the danger zone leading up to that is like referring to Violet. So
that's
Damn.
so weird.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, move on to the next question.
Move
Paul.
on.
How about that
Story was
ending and the
engaging. We already kind of talked about that.
Ed Sheeran.
Hold on, Jay. Hold on.
Well, we're gonna get
Hold
there.
on.
That's a point. But how is the gameplay? The gameplay's fine, with the exception of
could be
the
better.
glitches and stuff. Let's move on from that. We've kind of talked about the gameplay.
As good as Sword.
The art is bad, if you ask me.
It's pretty bad.
I think they did okay.
Not to say that some of the new Pokemon designs aren't cool, but
That's
like
where it
just
is.
the overall art design of this game in general is bad. And like Zach and I were talking about this before the podcast. I went back and looked at some footage of previous Pokemon games like Sword and Shield and like Sun and Moon and things like that. Those games look way the fuck better than this. Way the fuck better.
Gorgeous by comparison. Yeah.
Yes.
The ones on the 3DS, dude, look so good. X and Y look
X and Y
phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's just the blending. They didn't blend the game perfectly. Like the open world means they have to have like pieces of landscape and like architecture that like are, you know what I mean, are like repeated throughout, so they don't give a shit as much about them. They don't blend as smoothly as like a linear story where they can articulate everything.
Yeah, they could have done a way better job with this, and I feel like they rushed it, and it looks like ass. So
I don't super agree with that, but I do agree that they could have put a lot more polish into it. I think the Pokemon themselves
the stupid chandelier thing is
that is a strike against the art style.
I hate the chandelier thing too. That we talked about this last week.
Ever to load too.
I hate the chandelier itself. I don't hate the ramifications for battle. I actually think that's really cool.
Yeah, no, the mechanic is cool.
But we talked about this last week. Like the mechanic is fine. But like the Gigantamax was cooler, and it was the same thing basically. Yeah. So they could have just improved that and not made the Pokemon look fucking stupid.
Well, even the strong form, quick form thing that we had in Arceus was cooler. There's no visual change to that at all. It just changes up the way the moves
I think
work.
just the quick shing gloss of a blue instead of like whatever type they were, would have sufficed. But chandelier. I think it's for visuals if you're playing against a different region, or like they couldn't figure it out for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know.
I just think they didn't think about it.
I just think they made. I think they made a choice that they thought was unique and cool, and it wasn't a good choice.
It backfired.
Yeah.
Music. How is the music? The music's fine. Actually, I've noticed myself.
The music was horseshit.
What?
And for one reason only, why the hell was the end credit scene a goddamn Ed Sheeran song? Like it starts playing, and I'm sitting there like, oh, it's an anime ending.
First time I've ever heard Zach cuss on the podcast.
I've heard that Ed Sheeran song so many times since I heard it on Pokemon. Was it made for the game?
I don't care. It should not have been Ed Sheeran. This coming from I am a fan of Ed Sheeran. I listen to his music fairly regularly. My wife and I would love to go see one of his concerts one day, but I'm like, really? This, it started playing and I'm like, oh, it's an anime ending. We're gonna get some, cool Japanese,
that would have been great.
No name group. And then they're gonna perform a song and it's gonna be like partially in English and it's gonna be fun. And then the more it sat there, I'm like, this sounds really. Oh my God, this is freaking Ed Sheeran. Like, what the hell? I was livid. And because it doesn't belong. It doesn't make sense. He's from Ireland.
Okay.
Like, the whole game is set in Spain or a Spanish analog.
Yeah.
There's so many decisions they could have made that would have been Enrique would have been better.
So sans the Ed Sheeran, the music is fine. In fact, like I've noticed since I've been doing so many like raids and stuff, and also like breeding Pokemon, I hear it playing in my head when I'm away from it, or I'm like humming the tunes. It's fine. It's pretty decent Pokemon music. It's pretty bog standard stuff though for Pokemon.
Yeah,
though,
I think there's some
It
good
is-
ones. There are
yeah,
some
no,
high
I-
highs. Some
there's
really
there's
good
some
songs
jams in
there.
the the soundtrack. I had to pull that rant on the Ed Sheeran song, but no,
I
in
get it.
general, the soundtrack to
I will say though, I was playing Guitar Hero. I forgot to mention that this week. Sidebar: there was a Pokemon Red and Blue medley, and it had like all the best songs up to the Champion. Dude, the Champion, such a good song. Like,
It's
and
a
the
bop,
Elite
dude.
Four, such a good song. Like the Red and Blue soundtrack is insanely good.
It's really
So it doesn't come close to that, I
No.
gotta say. But it
Sure.
is pretty. There's some good highs in there.
Sound
There's some
design,
boring
on the
forgettables.
other hand, is
good.
meh.
Ooh,
Like it
it's
seems like they've been using the same sound design since like
Yeah.
freaking like the
ever.
like maybe like DS. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's rough.
And that's not to say that, like, I mean, there's some things like the Pokeball sound, right? That like we know and love, right? But like
the da 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 when
Sure.
when you heal.
Attack
Yeah, like
sounds
Yeah.
fine, I think.
yeah, they're
Right.
fine. There's nothing spectacular, but it's you know, it's also not.
Well, I would say, I mean,
We need a real enhancement. Think about what a real enhancement to this game could look like. Like the power ups.
Josh, we'll get there in a second.
Like,
We'll get there in a second.
All this crazy shit. All right.
hang tight.
Well, I mean, you're
Or maybe-
talking
maybe we just do it now,
specific.
like-
You're talking specifically about music, right?
Oh yeah. Well, I was saying,
or
like,
I mean,
with the
sound
mu-
design,
I was
right.
talking about anime.
Yeah.
I was talking about sound design.
Sound
and
design,
shit,
yeah. Here's the
And all
problem.
of these things can
Well,
be
and yeah,
streamlined. The
Zach's
visuals,
right, because we're
yeah.
after we finish the review, we're gonna talk about
all
how
right.
we
We'll
can
wait,
improve
we'll wait.
Pokemon. But I
getting
don't
there.
completely disagree with that sentiment, though.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be extremely difficult, and we'll talk about why in a little bit. And this also might be the same reason why a lot of the rest of this game sucks too. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But okay, moving on. How long did it take? I mean, I'm still playing it. I don't know how many hours I have.
80.
I could probably check. But yeah, I mean, a full playthrough, I'd say 80 hours easy.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
about.
If you
yeah.
really want to play it all, yeah, like no joke, maybe like 60,
Yeah.
or like 80.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is the game difficult? Not at all.
No,
though,
not at all.
unless you
Nope.
find yourself in a place where you don't belong, but then you can just
Somewhere
go
over your head,
elsewhere.
yeah.
You know,
I will say
yeah.
more difficult than previous, as I had a lot of faintings against like random encounters with wilds
So-
in the
Yep.
beginning.
I think that they used the same battle system as Arceus, which felt a lot more consequential. Like in Arceus, they really made a change to the battle system that made everything like kind of made you think more about like type advantages and things like that, instead of just being like 10 levels higher than the Pokemon you're fighting, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm that level 82, 80 whatever Dragonite has been KO'd on a number of occasions in one
yeah.
hit by Pokemon 20 years or 20 levels lower than it.
Sure.
Every time I try to sweep with one guy, like something stops me, and I'm like,
Yep.
"Fuck, gotta switch out."
Got
guess.
it. You've got to.
I had to restart
which-
the Elite Four a couple times to like to either level or find a Pokemon that would.
I will
you know,
say,
match.
I first tried the Elite Four, but on the last two fights, I want to say I was using like 4 or 5 Pokemon. I was like swapping out a
same.
lot, especially in the last fight. I was like swapping back and forth like crazy.
Yeah.
Do you
was
guys?
insane.
So my strategy in Pokemon games is to never swap if I can.
Really depends on my team. That's the
Yeah,
thing. It, like,
well,
super
because here's the
depends on
thing:
my
you
type
lose a
of team.
turn when you swap, and you also
Maybe.
put yourself in danger of running into like a trap, like spikes or whatever.
Something I love about Pokemon is that it's like super predictive. And
Mhm.
so I find that prediction is like a large percentage of Pokemon actually.
Yeah.
So when I swap, it's because I'm like reading the room or like predicting a move. And I'm like, okay, well, they're going to use like an electric move for sure. Like they set it up for this. He just pumped up and he's the thunder guy. I'm going to swap into like Gastrodon so I can like debuff this
Sure,
move 'cause
yeah.
he's ground. Or like any number of like things where like I'll swap into my Chansey because it's a fat special attack hit. Like she's gonna wall this hit, like something like that.
Yeah.
So like there are
Yeah.
definitely like it's more if you're using like tanks.
Yeah.
like, pivots and stuff
I
like
guess when I'm playing through the story, I'm not thinking that much about strategy.
In story mode,
if
I'm
I was
just like
doing competitive, that's a whole nother story.
See, here's the thing. In story, I actually don't like any of my people to faint because I want them all to get the XP. So if like someone, I don't like people going out to swap. So I'll usually like swap them and let someone eat a hit and then heal them rather than let them faint. Because then when I swap, I have to revive them and they lose a turn anyway. That's like just my MO. I don't like anyone to faint in like a legit fight.
Yeah.
It's weird. It would feel shitty to have someone not get XP.
Anyway, so yeah, game not really difficult, but I think they have kind of been making an effort to make them a little more difficult, though like we said, the kind of open world nature of this kind of fucked that up.
It's not the easiest Pokemon game.
Will you play a sequel? Obviously, yes, we will.
Yes, you motherfuckers. You have my social security number. Like, what do you want?
All right, so here's the moment of truth. The overall...
Oh, yeah. Mine's
the
on my
overall...
phones.
Yeah, mine is too. I didn't have anything to write on.
Shit.
Rating and impression. You guys want to
I gotta
go
like
on three?
crop the picture. Wait. Okay.
You know, one of these days we'll, integrate this with OBS and, we'll all just type in our score.
My numbers are going to be backwards, I just realized, because my camera, but it's okay.
All right, on three. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Boom.
I think my numbers are backwards. So
no, you got a 7.8?
7.8.
Yeah, you're just not backwards.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be high. 6.1 and 6.0. That's honestly what I thought. I'm surprised it didn't dip into the 5s.
The only reason mine wasn't a 6.0
I'll be honest,
is because I don't believe in even numbers in a rating. Yeah. Otherwise, it would have been 6.0.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, that this puts it on par with Jay and Silent Bob Mall Brawl.
Okay,
which like I played it once and I put it away, and that's exactly what's going to happen here. No, really? Well, so I did make note that game got a generous 6, and part of that was it's Jay and Silent Bob in a sprite-based brawler. Like you can't deny that. I'm going to play that as a Jay and Silent Bob fan. Hold on, I'm not done yet. So the 6-1 score, Paul, you had a 6-1, puts it on par with where I put Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, definitely never going to play that game again, but not hating the fact that I played it.
That sounded like a 6-1.
And that's right around the area where I was. My initial, when I initially sat down, I was like, maybe this is like a 6-4, and I looked at that, I'm like, that puts it better than Spider-Man Miles Morales. I'm like, no, it definitely wasn't that, because I'm actively looking forward to Spider-Man 2, and I guarantee that's got elements of Miles Morales in it. So, and then Josh, you gave it what, a 7.8? 7.8. That puts it. That's the same as what you gave Kirby 64 Crystal Shards and Doom 64 Remaster. Like, you had that much fun with it.
Yeah, I actually think I keep that score. Yeah, now that you said those games.
Yeah, for me, the only saving grace about this game is that it's fun.
It is.
And that's because they got the magic formula with Pokemon, though. There's some borderline game-breaking shit in this, and it's and then all the dumb open world stuff and things that they do. Like, I would not play this game if it wasn't Pokemon. I wouldn't.
Me either.
Now, because it's Pokemon, I've put shit tons of hours into it because I really like collecting the Pokemon, and I really like finding shinies, and
the backbone of Pokemon still exists in this game. It's the same reason that Josh and I loved Pokemon Snap so much. The backbone of Pokemon is still there. And unfortunately, Pokemon Snap was on top of that backbone, a brilliant game. Arceus was on top of that backbone, a much needed improvement. And I think that brings us to the main topic, doesn't it?
We can switch off of this real quick, and we'll go into the main topic. Here, we'll switch off.